My research pursues the interventions of contemporary textile artists who staged the colonial histories of fabric and fashion through installation art. I'm broadly interested in how the circulation of fabrics between colony and metropole aesthetically anchor investments in empire, and I look to how fabric artists historicize the 17th and 18th century sensibilities of the European colonial project. I largely chose UNC because its focus on interdisciplinary research allowed me to have the kind of focus and resources to pursue the type of project that I wanted to. And I would highly recommend anyone interested in the program look into that aspect of it.
I have a slightly different path, I think, than several people. I got my master's degree in Colorado in 2006 and then kind of did a lot of different things after that, working in nonprofits and reproductive justice and communications and staffing and lots of different things. So it had been about 13 years before I decided to come back to school. And during that time, between programs, I was also doing stand-up comedy and improv, and that's really what I'm interested in focusing on here in my PhD program at UNC. So I study stand-up comedy and thinking of stand-up comedy both through the lens of stand-up comedy in conversation with trauma, stand-up comedy as sort of a social function, stand-up comedy as both conservative and a place where utopia or revolution or resistance can happen, just recognizing it as a complicated space. And right now I'm currently interested specifically in failure and failure in stand-up comedy. And cool. Okay.
My research specifically looks at Black Twitter and fashion, and more broadly, the notions of identity and power that underlie them. I'm a part of the GSA, and I also work with Wilson Library at UNC. I chose this program for the interdisciplinary nature and for faculty who also reflect my research interests.
And I'm particularly focused in critical and rhetorical theory, and I write about things. I use Friedrich Nietzsche's ideas a lot, his critique of morality, and I criticize things like how we use politically incorrect and politically correct, those kinds of terms in contemporary society. One of the big draws of our department for me is their emphasis on theory. They take theory really seriously across the whole department, but particularly in rhetoric. My advisor, Christian Lundberg, Carol Blair, Eric Watts, these professors in their courses take theory not as something that they're reluctant to do, but they're excited to do. It's an important political and social practice for them. And I think that's really important, and I think they practice it really consistently across the department.
My research looks at social movements, organizing, constructions of citizenship and in-group membership, and communities of care. I chose UNC for a number of reasons. The program emphasizes the importance of intersectionality and strong theoretical grounding, which produces critical scholars. I've also felt really supported by how the department has responded to the COVID-19 pandemic, and I have felt welcomed and supported by the grad students in my cohort and throughout the program. Ultimately, I feel UNC will help me become an effective scholar activist and will position me well for my future career goals. I hope this helps you consider if UNC is the right fit for you. Take care.
My research interests lie at the intersection of cultural studies, organizational communication, and the political economy of communication. I'm interested in how things are made and how communities are shaped by the process of manufacture of various forms of media. Specifically, I'm looking at miniature wargaming right now as a means of examining this more broadly. I can't recommend UNC Chapel Hill enough. They've been intellectually supportive, as you might expect, but in this difficult time of the pandemic, they've been extremely supportive in other ways, financially, emotionally, socially. They've had their grad students' backs, and I can't thank them enough for that. But also, just that's a really good indication that this is a good program to enter. So sign up, apply. You won't be disappointed if you get in. Thanks.